All right, the meeting should be recording, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the August 7th iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout. The meeting notes are in the chat, so it is everyone's responsibility, shared responsibility, to kind of take notes. And I will also share my screen here, or my browser in a second. I will share my browser screen so those watching can actually see the notes as they're typed as well. All right, so let me do that right now. Share screen. Where is it here? Okay, here we go. Okay, can folks see my screen?
Yep.
It's the right window, nothing compromising? Okay, all right, so the first item, as usual, is the roadmap, and I would really like to have a release listed in the MicroProfile on the MicroProfile technology page for 2.1, because we're already basically a little over a month into this quarter. So what I have right now, based on the last call, is a config 1.4. A fault tolerance 1.2, but there was kind of some question marks around some of the other technologies, and I don't think having a release with just these two things is enough to qualify for a release. So does anyone want to kind of give a status update for some of the other possible spec updates or new additions?
Yes, so for Matrix, I don't think we are in. I wanted to be in, but we are not progressing as much as we wanted. And the two teams, so Don and I, will be on PTO during the next 4 weeks. Not at the same time, but I don't think we will make a lot of progress within the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
I was going to say, Heiko, you have a pretty tight team if you all take vacation at the same time.
Yeah, it's the bus factor, but we can work with that.
Okay, health check. Anyone from health check? All right, I'll put down a TBD and have to reach out. There was a discussion, I know James is on, last week about Reactive Stream's operator spec, but it's such a low-level spec that we were kind of wondering if we should wait for the reactive messaging spec before we actually add in the operator spec, basically do them both at the same time. James, do you have kind of an update about reactive messaging and maybe making a 2.1 release?
Yep, so we're going to, so first of all, on the operators, I'm going to release a milestone hopefully this week, if I can get the release process working for operators. And then, with plans to then release an RC, potentially release an RC a month before 2.1 is released, and then so that could definitely go into 2.1 if we decide that that's what we want. Messaging, I don't think it's going to happen in time
Okay.
due to PTO and stuff.
Okay, so it would be, I haven't really put a date down next to this yet, and Kevin and I should probably chat about it as well. But having something for EclipseCon/Code 1 would be, I think, a really nice message to deliver. So there's still kind of the marketing visibility aspect to it. In that sense, it might be nice to have the operator spec for that reason, even if we don't really expect people to develop to it directly. But it also might be a good message for defining the fact that we're investing, making it visible and obvious that we're beginning to think about reactive, right, as a project.
Yep.
So I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that, since Jim says it looks like it's possible. Anybody?
I would tend to agree that, I mean, just showing some of that progress. The only concern is if, you know, if we do the operator spec, and then we're totally out of sync with the next spec that comes out, and we just have to throw the operator spec away completely.
Mhm.
That would be my only concern. I mean, we can definitely update it, but
I want to know who is going to be in charge of that work. Is Liban via James and Marcus Isel going to own this and document it and make it usable and guarantee that it will be available not from 6 months but also a year and all the updates until we get committers for the project? Not committers, but help. You know what's going on, because if it's not going to work, why are we stuck?
So at the moment, it's not just Lightbend, it's also Red Hat, so Clement's got an implementation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you know, we're definitely, but you know, investing in it from Lightbend's point of view. So that's not going to stop anytime soon. Documentation wise, I'm not. Do we have shared MicroProfile documentation? My understanding was, sorry?
What do you mean with shared?
My understanding was each project, each vendor kind of creates their own documentation.
Yeah. So each spec. Each vendor is kind of responsible for creating their own documentation, their own examples, and all of that stuff. We started down the path of, for a while, of at least doing shared examples, but that kind of petered out a little bit. But I do think having some set of documentation put out by the MicroProfile community would be a good thing. But it is more work, right? It is more work. Someone's going to have to step up and commit to it and do it, right? So.
And it's not only that, like John touched a point. At the beginning, we thought we could do it all working together, but we can't ask every vendor to be an expert on all the projects. It's impossible. It's like, so we definitely need like the commitment to say, hey, we will document the bare minimum. I think the documentation needs to be just basic. What does the code do? That's it. Yep. Just keep it bare minimum. If we do that, we would, you know.
There's already you know quite comprehensive Java docs for the project, and I'm currently looking at whether I can get an intern to do things like marble diagrams for the each operator, which is something that would be nice to have that some other reactive streams libraries like RxJava have. So in the Java docs side, very straightforward. That's definitely going to be there.
So then, how about does everyone agree that we need more time? They likely we need more time to set up. Like I know Clement, he's an animal with things that he wants to do. And he's quick, but can he join with you and say, hey, we're going to do X, and then we can have a better rounded idea, because the maybes do not help, right?
There's no maybes here about that. I mean, the Java docs are definitely there and quite comprehensive. The maybe is whether we take it an extra level and make it really, really user friendly. And that's also not something that necessarily has to be done for 1.0 because you can continue adding to documentation long after the project's released and things. But the only thing that doesn't exist at the moment is I guess a more high level documentation. It does exist in the form of the spec itself, and that's fairly comprehensive. And I've been working on that over the past week, just cleaning some stuff up to get it ready for release. But that's more targeted at people implementing the spec than it is people using it.
this is something that you have written, right? And you see in live end. So should you fork it and bring it to MicroProfile, it wouldn't be look like.
It's part of MicroProfile, the spec.
Perfect. So that it wouldn't be look like you fork it and we're screwing the little guy. If it's that, I think it's a big plus. I don't know everyone else.
No, this is all these docs are part of MicroProfile.
Okay.
So here's an idea around whether or not we include reactive streams, right? Because I could see both sides, the pros and the cons. So let's pause on it and not jump into it. Think about it over the next week. Maybe have a discussion in the forum, and then come back next week and we all kind of commit or one way or the other. Does that sound like well, 2 weeks? Go ahead, James.
In 2 weeks, I'm not likely to be here because I have a child due then. So.
Congrats.
Well, that's a forcing function if I've ever heard one.
This is the reason why the messaging spec's not going to be done in time.
Okay.
James, you started a thread like 2 weeks ago. We said start a thread. Let's start the conversation. Do you do that?
Yep.
Okay.
And look, I will also release the milestone 1, and what that will make it easy for everyone to just check it out.
Okay.
We'll publish the docs and things like that.
Okay, yeah, that would be awesome.
I think we need to talk more about this. So, forum.
All right, so let's give it. Will you be here next week?
We only do this every other week.
Oh no, yeah, duh. Okay, so maybe what we do. How do we do this here? Maybe we can
try and make sure Clement's on.
Yeah. I just want to make sure Clement also gave some feedback to it.
Yep. Clement's on PTO at the moment. He gave feedback on the mailing list saying we should release. It'd be good to release sooner and be part of the next version. But
yeah, that was our feedback on internal discussion as well. So yeah, Clement is representing all the Red Hat.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, just to make sure I heard that properly, you said he's okay with releasing it first, the operator spec? Okay. Okay. Let's see. So, given Clement's kind of thoughts around it, James, and the fact that James will not be able to make it in 2 weeks, should we kind of have a verbal vote now?
I believe that is a bad idea because personally, I have to see the thread, and I believe that many need to. We have not done a good PR for this new thing. So how about we use the media, and we use what I can do on my side is I will find that thread if it can be forwarded to this group and be at the chat, and I will ask for the community feedback to participate in the forum, mm-hmm. because I don't think we have done a good job on it. And this is one of the sides of the marketing that we need to be much more aligned, right? It's just like, can we do this? And then that will create much more visibility. It seems that reactive is working. Everyone talks about reactive, but we're too quiet on it. When we're doing something cool, we need to do better. So let me say, hey, we have fell a little bit on that tie. So let's start it. And I don't think we need a call or vote, because we cannot represent the entire community. The vote should be the community to vote, not this group. Yeah, right? You don't want to be that person. Mm-hmm. You just like we did the logo, we want the community to vote, right? So for that, it takes 30 seconds to vote. Let's do a momentum for it. That's my recommendation.
So any other perspectives? So one of the things we had discussed, I think, I apologize, in one of the prior meetings was, how do we deal with new specs, right? This is a new spec. And so, adding a new spec to the platform, it is kind of a big deal. So the question then becomes, do we really have a formalized process for adding a new spec? And if we do this, I would like to figure out a way to get it done before Code 1/EclipseCon. Right? So we're going to need come up with some formalized way of adding a new spec. I have no problem kind of leading that discussion in the Google groups. But just keep in mind that we do have, I think, a pragmatic forcing function for us to come up with that. Plus, we have to have, what is it, Kevin, a month notice to have the release in the defined release in the release plan a month ahead of time, right?
Right.
So if we go, sorry, anyone have the dates for Code 1 off the top of their head?
Yes.
October 24th.
October 22nd.
October, so that gives us, go back a month, September 24th, right? And probably a week or two before that even, to give us time to actually do the release.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if
John,
it's
mid-September, that is fantastic. But my recommendation is use a thread. We can use Twitter. I do not do Facebook. Twitter, and then we can have, once we have enough conversation, I mean, give it like 10 days, even 5 days if we start today. And then we can say a survey, really quick, not a survey, like a vote, yes or no, and these are the specifications, like what will be the value of this? Just sell it super nice, and then we have plus 1,000 members that will get to vote. Should those interested in voting can do so, and then let's see what is the traction within our community. I do not believe in a vote for this group alone. I believe we can, because we don't have a methodology right now. Let's focus on a standard that we can drop or adjust super quickly. I believe vote help.
So give me a day or two. I'll write something up and I'll do it via the group, and just get a little feedback, and then we'll socialize it. So give me a day or two, and I'll do that.
John, you're awesome. James, do you believe this is light and enough to bring up, a process that is representative of our community?
So do I think it's what enough?
Do you believe that this is the feedback on how to proceed and the level? John will lead the project, and then we will likely vote on this. The community will likely vote. We have plus 1,000. If 60 or 100 vote, that is really good. We have our answer.
Yeah, as long as we can get the community participation in the vote.
Yes. We have never done this before, so thanks in advance for being the tester.
Sorry, I'm actually taking a note right now here, an action item to myself here.
Oh, so I know we have a Scott topic, but Ryan joined this call from another call to talk about MicroProfile and the MicroProfile moving to WordPress. He needs to drop very soon, so I would like to step him to the front of the line before he drops, because he's in Prague right now. Ryan, you're still here with me and with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, quick update, and thanks for letting me jump the line. Everything's pretty much good to go. We just finishing up the final documentation for how to write the proper documentation, how to post a blog post with redirects or directly onto the new WordPress site. Everything's been updated. The blog, this documentation will be updated in the same location on GitHub, so there won't be any confusion there. Hopefully, I think by, what's today, Wednesday? Tuesday? So by Thursday, I believe. Just want to look at it again one more time tomorrow, and I'm going to review it with Teresa. And then it's good to go. And then I think you guys already saw it last time, and I think it was approved. The marquee team's already seen it, so if there's no objections, I'll move forward this week with it. You won't even really notice a difference. So.
And what about, we have a new blog coming from Sebastian Dasher. Using the Slack group, I will add, his blog. He can be the tester of whatever we launch on Thursday. Is that okay for you, Ryan? Clearly, you are like behind this with other microprofilers, but we need a tester. Once we have the documentation.
You want to post it on Thursday? Or
no, I would like for us to get this done and have someone that has been an admin or a contributor for the blog go in there blind without knowing anything and brutally destroy whatever we have done and give us the feedback on it. And
sure,
we have,
why not? Sounds good.
Cool. We do that on the side. Okay. Is that all? Like, guys, questions for Ryan?
Not all at the same time.
Come on, questions for Ryan.
All right, guys.
No, I'm just really happy to see, the WordPress blog, capability there. I mean, Ryan, huge thank you.
No problem.
It means maybe I could actually do something, that's the downside. So, okay.
You can review blogs that are technical.
There you go.
Right? Like, what an admin. Thank you so much, Ryan, for dropping.
No problem.
Bye.
Have a great evening, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for being awesome.
And I apologize. Someone appended open tracing to the roadmap, so I just want to go back quickly. Is anyone from open tracing on the call?
No, I added that because I know that Pavel has done some work and he had the idea of probably releasing it, but I'm not sure. So
okay. All right. I'll that'll be part of the thread. So let me take another action item here to contact Pavel on release. So. Okay, so I took an action item. All right, I apologize. Now let's move down to the next topic. Scott. Take it away, Scott.
Yeah, so this topic has come up in a couple different contexts. One, the last couple architecture group meetings, we were just floating the idea to make sure that we're consistent on what our view is with respect to the community's expectations for MicroProfile and how it evolves, the technologies, et cetera, that we have. But it also had come up from Mike Milinkovich from the Eclipse Foundation, kind of feeling that it had the expectation that it was automatically going to become part of the Jakarta effort. And so we definitely did not agree with that in the architecture group. So I think the point of this conversation is to make sure that we float this up and have a group-wide discussion and agreement on what our purpose is and if there's any relationship to Jakarta EE, what that might be. The other point and concern that's coming from the Jakarta EE effort is that it definitely is floundering, quite frankly. So even if there does make sense at some point having it actually be a proper profile in Jakarta EE, now is not the time is the concern. So that's the gist of the topic. So from the architecture group, I think the general feeling was that MicroProfile is really more of a let's leverage the reactive model. It's something that's supposed to be quicker. It's supposed to be more exploratory. It's supposed to be more lightweight and oriented toward cloud development and even alternate who knows whatever is needed in terms of adapting microservices to Java runtimes. We definitely want to have the ability to explore new APIs like reactive and new, so again, service mesh is another massive topic that is completely unaddressed at many levels, and certainly is not something that Jakarta EE is any position to address. So we need to have the flexibility and adaptability to deal with, very dynamic environments like service mesh, where you have things like Istio being developed that are changing constantly. So we have to be able to match that type of cadence and evolution of the technologies. So that was I think the consensus from the architecture group, but the point of bringing this up was making sure that that's a consistent belief from all of the participants.
And Scott, I have a follow-up with you. When you talk about Mike and Eclipse, you're saying internal talks that are done for the within the Jakarta E committees, correct? Just to clarify, because maybe not everyone knows here that you are a member of.
Correct.
Okay, just clarifying to make sure that everyone knows.
So,
Yeah, because, so let me add some more context to that, because so we are developing, so what is Jakarta E? Jakarta E is an attempt to move the Java EE specs from Oracle into Eclipse. And as part of that process, not only is there a massive movement of the code in TCKs, there's also a development of a new specification process, but Mike Milinkovic and Eclipse Foundation have kind of floated the notion that they want to develop a more general Java, let me say Java, but maybe that's too strict, but a more general open source based specification process that could apply to other things like their IoT effort, maybe even their Eclipse Che type of stuff. That's getting certainly too broad a scope and off topic, but certainly with respect to the Jakarta EE, it had been floated that was going to be the specification process that would apply to MicroProfile. You specifically mentioned that. So that was where it kind of raised the hair on my back of my neck as a concern.
Yeah, I agree with that, Scott, but then verbally Mike kind of backed off on that a little bit. I know his note sounded a lot more harsh, or I don't know if you want to use the term harsh, but more direct. And when we talked about it on the call, he backed off a little bit to indicate technologies like MicroProfile so that we could incorporate them into Jakarta EE. So
and I do.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
Yeah, and I do know specifically he had certainly other Eclipse projects in mind that could leverage it. Like I said, IoT is one.
So this is a thread that could probably go on for a while here, and this is a good thread. This is pretty important, I guess. From my perspective, MicroProfile started out initially, right, as we do all sorts of innovative stuff here, and then when we think it's ready, the output of it was intended to be submitted as JSRs, right? So that was kind of the process that we had set up, or thinking, not process, well, even process, because we do have the config JSR. So, so then, how does that really change with it being Jakarta EE? I don't think we know yet because there isn't a specification process within Jakarta EE. We do have a relationship with Jakarta EE, right? Being that we now have 4.5 specifications. The half is common annotations, by the way. 4.5 specs, right? That are really within the Jakarta EE community. So there is kind of this relationship that we have with that project. So that's just kind of.
So on that front, that actually is a concern, frankly, given the progress of the Jakarta EE effort. So, I mean, one thing I think ultimately we have to potentially consider is that Jakarta EE may implode, and then we have a responsibility to determine how are we going to move this forward. I mean, I know it's a complicated topic that we're not going to be able to address, but that's something that we have to have in the back of our minds.
It's not complicated at all. Let's get the roles on here. This is how I see it. And this is bias me. Based on, we have 39 specifications being moved. MicroProfile is light. It's an under incubation. There is no rush for us to move MicroProfile under Jakarta EE umbrella. I understand that there is like these pros and cons on saying many of the partners are partners under Jakarta EE, but it is not our job to shield Jakarta EE in a manner that doesn't, and that, we have a light system in place that has, because it's governed by these kind of calls that are fluid and fast, and we do not wait 3 weeks or a month to do something. People can come and use MicroProfile and have fun at it. We need to keep it going because we do use Jakarta EE. We use, not only Java EE, but we use other aspects of Java and now reactive, hopefully soon. We need to continue pushing forward. And once ready in the future, I think 2 years or something, we can really consider it. It seems to me immature for us to feel obligated to go into Jakarta and stop. Do you know, if we move it, this calls a stop. If we move it, there is no more community hangouts. It's going to be until the specs are completely transferred. everything is going to be under wraps with only Google, with the forums.
Yeah.
So we can't have that. We can't.
Yeah.
No.
Amelia, I agree with that completely. I don't think this is the right time or timing to consider any type of integration with Jakarta EE. Fully agree with that.
We should think about
on that
again
line.
once the Jakarta E8 level stuff is done and they really start with E9. Before that, I totally agree with Amelia. It's really premature.
Well, I'm going to make a slightly modified comment there. I would say it's not just having a Jakarta EE9, but we see adoption in the community with Jakarta EE. Right? So
and the question still then is if we kind of take the MicroProfile specs and revisit them, move them to official Jakarta E namespace packages, and kind of use this to get rid of things we think we should never have introduced, or if we kind of one-to-one in kind of pull in MicroProfile specs into Jakarta E. All this is not defined, and we are not the ones who will define this, but Jakarta E folks are. Even if there's a huge overlap of people involved in both parties, we are still different.
Hey, Mark, you mentioned something super cool. Whatever we get created within MicroProfile, because we are actually an incubator of sandbox, like playing fun. Once that is ready, it can move into the Jakarta EE specification. We can go on for a very long time, adding value without red tape. And then those projects can be moved. It will be not plus the 39. It can be moved at their own specifications. And, hopefully, we don't even have the naming for Jakarta specifications yet, like set numbers. But that is something super cool that you just mentioned. I'm not sure if I understood you correctly, but saying we incubate and then the projects move once everything else has been tackled.
The point is that Jakarta E at some point in time, if they are mature enough, will decide, we want some stuff which is also done or already done in MicroProfile. So they could kind of import this one-to-one and kind of reference our specifications, or they can kind of take it over, change the namespace, tweak the API slightly, get rid of stuff, clean it up, add some smallish features, and then make the own spec out of our stuff. That's perfectly fine and okay through the license we have. They should not change the license, of course.
Isn't the truth somewhere in the middle where at some point in the future, once they have their shit together, MicroProfile could really serve at the incubator at a different speed with breaking changes, all these things, and then after a few iterations of that and stabilization, then it would be promoted like what we do currently with submitting a JSR?
Yes, of course.
I like that.
Whatever that process is.
Mike.
Yeah, and when we do pull something into Jakarta EE, then we have something concrete to talk about and something to set a process about. So I don't think the relationship between MicroProfile and Jakarta EE should be finalized until at least the first spec is moved.
Yes.
Or
Mike,
adopted or whatever.
So, Mike, you're commenting, but you're not speaking. Can you share what you are writing? I cannot read you. Maybe in everyone else. Come on, do your work.
Yes, I was just to point out off the back of a comment that Mark made. So, rolling back a few comments, we were talking about the Jakarta EE specs that we use in MicroProfile, and that's something that we keep an eye on as well. And a thought occurred to me that way back when we first did the 1.0 of MicroProfile, we were writing the conference demo apps together. And we thought, should we have JAX-B? Because that's a really useful spec in the kind of apps that we want to write. And someone pointed out that we don't need to include JAX-B specifically because it's in Java SE. But from Java 11, it's not going to be in there anymore. Oracle are dropping all of the Java EE specs that used to be in Java SE. They'll no longer be available. So although we never explicitly included JAX-B in MicroProfile, we kind of did use it in the conference demo apps. And obviously, if it was to disappear, then just a pure MicroProfile only platform if you were to deploy the conference demo apps to it, it wouldn't work. So do we want to explicitly include JAX-B, given that we've already got JSON-B explicitly included? Or is it not worth it at this stage, considering that it's only the conference demo app where it was really discussed or used, as far as I know?
Well, we actually do use it in the JWT spec. We do reference that.
Okay, in that case, I guess it's probably is worth including it explicitly.
So does that mean we also need JAX-WS?
No.
I mean, how much of the stack do we pull in?
JAX-RS has a reference to JAX-B, I think. I'm not quite sure if this is mandatory or optional, but JAX-RS does have it uses XML.
I think it's optional.
I'm not quite sure. I have to read it up.
All right, so let's before we get too far down this path, let's bring this up in the Google groups and have a discussion around it. I think it's a good topic. One of the questions that I have, kind of getting back to the main thread that Scott started. So right now there's no ability to evolve any of the specs that are in Jakarta EE, right? But we depend on them. So maybe my question is, maybe perhaps to Scott and James, is this causing issues with the reactive spec not being able to provide ideal APIs, right, or evolve the reactive stuff because of limitations in the specs that we depend on?
I don't see that. For a start, JAX-RS, for example, doesn't seem to be impacted by it. Like, they're still working and talking about new features, and that's an area where we're interested in reactive features, and it doesn't seem to be any impediments to evolving that at the moment.
Yeah, but
so,
the problem there actually is, though, is that although they can do some code level features, they actually cannot technically update the spec, and they can't do a release because that's violating the agreement that Eclipse has with Oracle. So it's really only a development mode at this point. We can't actually evolve that to the point of being a usable release. That's the problem.
I think for reactive, Java SE has much more impact than the other Java EE parts, because for the other Java EE parts like CDI, etc., JAX-RS, it's more or less SPIs and completely clean to integrate. But SE has a huge impact probably, because I have actually no clue what Oracle wants, because it looks a little bit of clueless, because they introduced completion stage, and with Java 8 and Java 9 they added the Flow API, and with Java 11 they added another reactive API, and then they added Fibers, but Fibers duplicates completion stage a little bit. So I'm really confused about what they want, because it don't look like on the Java SE level, it looks like a clear plan to me.
Guys, may I correct a moment here? John, great question, but let's go back to Scott and his comment. I think let's end that topic. This group, plus we need to write a blog. In my recommendation, listen to this recommendation. I do like the John says recommendation. Let me recommend. I like that. I will use it. My recommendation is that we start a draft internally, right? And this draft starts something like during the community hangout, and we will add a link to this video on that blog that will go into MicroProfile.io. So it was mentioned of what is going on with Jakarta and MicroProfile. It is our job to explain where we are and where we're headed and what the status is. We have left the answer unanswered too long, and now it is not Eclipse's or anyone else's fault if they assume that we will move it under whatever is happening with Jakarta. That was never the intent. I don't even think anyone in this call thought we will move it. Yet people are wondering. It is our job to write it, to say it, to broadcast it, and we need to be very, very clear on it. I am saying this is the goal that we are first time talking about. Nothing matters privately within our organizations if we are not able to communicate clearly. And a blog is what we need to do. We have the video.
As long as the blog isn't too negative about Jakarta EE and
No,
the progress.
not
Exactly.
not
Yep.
negative.
So-
I am saying it's going to be this video linked. Is Eclipse is doing a formidable, incredibly hard job at the moment, undertaking Java EE under their wings. That means it is their job to enable the community to speak up, right? They have to gather the feedback. So we, as a community project, need to help Eclipse and everyone else understand what's what. And it's our job to shield not only Eclipse, but our community and other communities and be an example of what a good communication is. There is no hard things to discuss, and we do not need to bash anyone. On the contrary, we can enhance the PR for Eclipse because it's very challenging. I'm in one committee, very challenging to even move forward when you don't have a budget, when you don't have, so right, let's explain it. And the Jakarta side, we need to explain what each group is doing because even that needs to be done for another call. But I am saying, let's write this blog. It cannot be a blog written by one individual. It needs to be a community blog. Can we do this?
I like the idea, and it's a great chance for us to all collaborate on WordPress.
Yes.
Actually, probably a Google Doc, but regardless, I don't want to get into that. I like the idea, but someone's going to have to own kicking it off and kind of own
Yes.
bringing it.
Kevin, are you here? Because John, you have gotten a lot of tasks. Kevin, are you here? Are you happy to and let's create the Word doc private for this group here, and then we can tackle it. Can we do that, Kevin? Are you here? I'm selling you right now.
I know. I hear you.
Man, that was the sound of enthusiasm if I've ever heard it.
This
Well-
is respect.
So I'm not on this train completely because I don't want this to come across like we are bashing Jakarta EE. And I know you said that you didn't want to do that, but many of us are working in both camps, and I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I am more than happy to write something up that is more along the lines of why it's not the right time for MicroProfile to join Jakarta EE. And as a matter of fact, I have already written something because I was approached by the Eclipse newsletter to write something like this. So I have started that type of write-up. It's more of an article or a blog, whatever you want to do, but I am not going to turn this into a Jakarta EE bashing.
No, I don't think anybody wants that. I agree with you, Kevin.
Yeah, we will not do that. And it's not about one author. It's about everyone, at least in this call. And I will volunteer myself to say, just create it simple and say, I think timing is everything because we are investing in Jakarta EE. We want it to succeed as we have, all of us here are involved in Jakarta EE. Seriously. So just even by 100 words, say this is not the right time and this is why.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. I did not follow all the blogs and all the articles about Jakarta EE, but I read the one from Sebastian, and he is also suggesting that MicroProfile crawls under the Jakarta umbrella. So having an official answer to that, like, okay, it's a good idea, but probably not now because there are too many uncertainties, and once they are solved, we can discuss this again.
Okay.
Would certainly be a good idea.
Okay, so how about this? Because you, Heiko, you read the blog and I read the blog. There are 3 blogs expecting us to move under the umbrella, and they are really well-written blogs. So how about, Kevin, I drop this side and I say, I will start not a blog, but say, this is a video and this is the blog, and it's a community blog on MicroProfile, a MicroProfiler that is a Jakartese. We can use that and say, answering to this blog. We can actually reply to that blog because it is not about bashing. It is about explaining. When we have 3 written blogs, very well-known people writing and saying, this is what we expect, we need to answer. So instead, just now that Heiko had read it, I am not the only one who knows about those ones. I will create this thing that says only 1 paragraph. I will then send a link. Everyone will get to see it, and it will be, oh, come on, you are. And it will be simple, and we can be comfortable, all of us, to edit it. And if it works, we post it, and if it doesn't work, we drop it. It will be private.
What about that? The main rule, or one of the core rules of MicroProfile, is that we are moving fast. So we do frequent releases, give people something to play pretty frequently, and this just doesn't fit really well to Jakarta EE. This doesn't stop Jakarta EE from adopting MicroProfile specs, but I think we will still kind of evaluate or evolve in parallel, probably.
I did read
I did read.
Sorry for interrupting you. I did read a blog post. Thank you. A blog post. I might have been by the same author that Heiko mentioned.
Sebastian.
And there was a sentence in there that said the community expects MicroProfile to move under Jakarta EE, and I thought that was not accurate.
Exactly, Cesar.
Well, which community?
Well, maybe the Jakarta EE community expects that. I mean, it depends on what community is being referenced on that.
But
we will not assume.
The problem is setting expectations that may or may not happen, right? So
let's do this. Sorry to interrupt here, but we got like 7 minutes left. So Amelia kind of was going to write up a one paragraph thing, send out a link. We can all kind of chat and collaborate around it. Kevin, I don't know if you want to use this as the newsletter thing, or if you want to continue to do something separate. I'll leave that up to you, since you were kind of approached to do it. Let's just. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
Just to explain here too, the reason that I was asked to do this, it wasn't because of my, situation or with the MicroProfile community. It's because I've had 2 presentations accepted at EclipseCon Europe and at Java 1, and I had submitted a talk saying, hey, here's the relationship between MicroProfile and Jakarta EE. So now that since those 2 have been accepted, I kind of have to come up with something. And that's why I got tagged to write this article, and I thought, well, okay, this will be good input and probably feedback for the presentations that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing that I don't want to do, I don't want this to turn into a, what do you want to say, a group think. On everything, I still want it to be kind of my viewpoint, because I think maybe it's a little safer to go that route.
Do it.
But,
do it. Mm-hmm.
But I'm still, my current draft of it, I was planning to post it to our community and ask for input, just to make sure that I'm not saying anything that is just terribly incorrect. So that's what I was going to do with it, John.
Okay.
I think it's awesome.
So, I'm trying to figure out how to normalize these 2 things, right? There's community feedback on Kevin's Kevin's perspective. Then there's potentially a broader community, I guess, response to the other blog entries and expectations around the Jakarta EE community. It sounds like those could still be 2 separate things.
Yes, they are 2 different things.
Yep, I think so.
Okay. So Amelia, go ahead and take your action item. In fact, add your action item to the meeting minutes.
I will. Everyone here, before I forget, everyone here, is it okay for me to add you to the draft? It will be super simple. We have the minutes of this, because we do want to say we are open and we are talking and not bashing. And also the video. If the video of this call can be added to the minutes here, we can just have it all set up for people to go and say, okay, I did the PR.
Yeah, the video will be out a little bit later, because I have to go through the rendering and uploading stuff. But I'll try and get it done by tonight.
I will send today is Wednesday. Today's Tuesday.
Today is Tuesday.
I would send it just a 1 sentence, say, on this call, we're talking. It would be so simple, because we need to beef it. I don't want to write it myself. I want all of us to do it together. That is the way to go. But I will start with the first graph to say, on this call, and it would be like simple. All right. We have 2 more items, well, maybe 3, and we only have 4 minutes.
So I guess maybe the next one is just because it has a future reference here is around the starter. So I suppose that what we could do is invite Rudy to come to the next meeting and maybe do a demo and have a discussion around the starter. Does that sound okay to
That would be
everybody?
great.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's great.
Okay. So let's go ahead and make a formal invitation and set aside, I don't know how much time, maybe we do 20 minutes. I'll just throw that out. Let's see. All right. And then Heiko, you had something here that looks like it may
Yes.
not fit within 3 minutes, but go ahead.
Well, it may or may not. So we have the situation that one of our committers has left his current or his then current employer for where he was potentially also contributor for that company with the Eclipse company agreement, and he's now working for a company that probably does not have the agreement. So do we need to inform Eclipse somehow to revoke committer status, or is there any procedure around that, or do we just say,
Yeah.
okay, so
Eclipse
Heiko,
requires
so-
him to notify them.
Yeah, so that person should update his profile for Eclipse and indicate that he has changed employers. And when he's done that, then he'll have to answer questions as to, well, can you still participate, whether it's with your current employer or not? And then that'll take him through that process of maybe he has to back out.
And Kevin, you're correct. We cannot help him. What we can do is write documentation that actually says you need to go there and the client is electronic. It takes you 1 minute to do. And then Eclipse internal will follow up. And because we use Eclipse use get, if he used regular account, not employer account, he will be okay. He doesn't need, he doesn't need their employer authorization. Right? Because Eclipse use get. But if he linked the two, then he will need to withdraw completely and then start from zero. So it's a mess.
Well, I did sign the contributor agreement as Red Hat employee. So even if sometimes my private account sneaks in or all my GitHub stuff is from my personal account, it's still signed off and everything is with my employer. So I expect if I would leave Red Hat, that agreement would be void, even if all the contributions have been on the private umbrella. The question is, if that, so still do we as a project have to report that person, or is it really the goodwill of that person that he does the right thing? And if he doesn't, do we need to, let's say, always be on the watch out? Because before it's automatic by the machinery, by this bot.
We need to report that. To tell you the truth, we do need to report it because we are a legal entity under Eclipse and we're responsible for our committers. We just need to CC that person in Perry. I can actually follow up. With whom do I follow up here so that I give you the data of who to contact? Because we need to report it and say, this committer has moved jobs and he needs to do X. And
No,
we need to contact Eclipse and say
it's his own responsibility. We are not responsible for Eclipse. Everyone signed the CLA, and those people, every committer is responsible for just himself. You are not responsible for anyone else here.
But
and the point is, you cannot judge this. We cannot know. I have no clue who this is, and it totally depends on which state he lives in. So it's not easy for us to judge if it even has an input. For example, over here in Europe, it doesn't. The company you work for does not have such a big impact like in the US. So we can point this to the people. We should talk with this person, but that's it.
Can we ask Eclipse, how do we handle our committers when they move from different jobs? And we can ask Wayne via the forum. He doesn't want to be, I do not know.
All right. So I think what we should, I agree with Mark. It is up to the individual. We should just give the individual a heads up and say, hey, you're going to need to go do this. Please do it within a week or whatever, and if we don't see a change, then we notify the Eclipse Foundation or whatever, right? But I agree that it's really not our kind of responsibility to do that. All right, we're at the top of the hour. This is the formal end of the call. Sorry to kind of use my control here since I have the power.
Love
it. I have the recording power, exactly. So thanks everyone for joining. And in 2 weeks, same bat time, same bat channel, and I will see you all then. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.